This is episode 18, and up until this point, this has not been videoed, so there has not been a visual up until this point, but there's going to be. So today I am going to interview a photographer. Now, how did I decide this, or how did I decide to bring this perspective onto my podcast is because being an independent contractor means obviously I'm working for myself. I do modeling also on the side, so I am available for hire, but I also do a lot of collaborations. So what that means is a photographer or the model can reach out to one another and say, hey, would you want to collab on a photo shoot? And basically they get experience and exposure on their portfolio, and so does the model. So that's what I did with the photographer that I'm about to interview. She had actually reached out to me and we linked up, and then it made me realize that as a model, I don't know the life of a photographer. I know the life on the other side of the camera as a model. So I wanted to get to know what it's like on the other side of the camera, the one taking the pictures, and for also people to realize what it is like to be working for yourself independently and creating your own business and such. So we will begin that interview in just a few seconds. Yay, we're doing it.
I know, it's exciting.
It is exciting. So before we get started in today's podcast, I just wanted you to go ahead and introduce yourself to my audience, like what your name is, who you are, basically like what you do, and just like a little brief introduction to make them familiar with you.
Okay, yeah. So my name is Elena. I am 26 years old from the Detroit area of Michigan, and I got into photography about 10 or 12 years ago, but just started to take it more about exactly a year ago. And so I do a lot of portrait work, whether that's like senior portraits or family portraits, or helping models build their portfolio, or models helping me build my portfolio with creative concepts. Or I just like to use as much time as I can devoted to photography.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're located in like downtown Detroit, like Metro Detroit, or?
I'm in a suburb. I'm in Bloomfield Hills, so like a half hour out of
Okay.
Detroit.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And then I know that we had connected and you traveled to Lansing. So I'm assuming you
hmm
travel a lot to connect with models and connect with other people to be able to do your work and such.
Yeah, I do a lot. I actually went to Ohio the other day. Today I'm actually going to be heading to Lansing in a little bit. And yeah, I like to really just work as much. And so if that means I have to travel somewhere else, then I'll do it. I just like
Yeah.
to keep myself busy. It keeps me sane.
So today I kind of just wanted to begin, or not begin, but like do this episode because I've been like a model just doing it like here and there. I'm not with an agency, and you are a full-time photographer, correct?
I do it, I could be full time, but I'm also in school and I also work at a yoga studio, so I balance it, but
Got it.
to make it more, yeah.
Got it. So I've actually never like interviewed a photographer and stuff. So I'm guessing maybe other people have this interest. Like I just want to know like what does a photographer's life look like on a day-to-day basis, or what is your schedule like, or how many hours per week do you work, and like what's the life of a photographer?
So for me, personally, I just kind of work around my school and my work at the yoga studio. I just do the front desk a couple hours a week. But what I like to do is all of the requests that I get from clients who would like to set up paid shoots. I like to just hit up models, whether that's usually on Instagram or like Facebook, and look at different areas, whether it's just Michigan in general or Detroit, or I like to go all the way over to Ann Arbor, Lansing, Grand Rapids. But aside from just scouting people out and DMing them and getting my schedule together in that sense, I do love to edit photos. I don't spend that much time on it just because I do it really quickly, and I like to get my pictures back to people I want possible. But there's a lot of like conceptualizing and trying to think of cool new places or maybe color schemes that I'd like to do a shoot with, a lot of buying and returning props on Amazon, a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. So you only do this like part-time, but you said you have other part-time things. So it sounds like your schedule is probably like always busy, always packed, you're always moving.
Kind
Is
of,
that
yeah.
with
Yeah, which is
photography
funny.
though? Yeah,
Hmm?
right.
Oh, yeah.
Um, with
Hmm.
with photography, could you basically take your work anywhere you want though?
Hmm. That's what I love. Yeah. Because there
Yeah.
will always be, people to work with. Like if I, like for instance, my actually have a second house in San Diego. So we go there a couple times a year. And last year, I was super excited because I was going to be there for a long time. And so I hit up a bunch of models and I was like, hey, I'm going to be in the area. Do you want to, get together? And I know to a lot of people, it sounds super hitting someone up on social media and saying, hey, let's meet at this, random place. But yeah, I mean, I counted and I've literally worked with hundreds of models, and that blows my mind. So I think it's really cool.
That's amazing. So let's move on to that topic. Like, how did you find me to work with, or what do you look for in someone when scouting out models to work with?
Yeah, so I probably found you through like a hashtag searching in like Michigan model or Lansing model. Um, and aside from that, what I usually look for is that has some level of experience. I'm not super picky, and I don't think you have to by any means be professional or have any sort of training or be signed with an agency to like a really awesome person to work with. And it's also really great to just get to connect with people on a personal level. But aside from that, it's a lot about not really what you look like, but more just that you actually are. I don't know, because I get a lot of my DMs from people, not a lot, but some people that are like, hey, I'm trying to get into modeling. Do you want to, like, would you be able to do a shoot? And that's always kind of a tough situation because I want to do things that I can to help, but it's also a double-edged sword because maybe they don't really know what they're doing. And so I'm doing all of this free work in a way that isn't going to benefit me, but that seems self. So I don't know. It's a lot of balancing and trying to decide, like, if I'm still getting joy out of it, I'm probably still going to do it, which isn't the best way for business, but yeah.
Yeah, I understand that though. And sometimes, like, as a model, I ask myself, so this might be a good question for you, like, how does a photographer say, like, okay, I'm going to do a collab with you or I'm going to charge you? Like, how do you decipher if you're going to charge them or just do a collaboration?
Yeah. Excuse me, my voice keeps going out. But yeah, so it's basically how if I'm the one reaching out, I will usually make it like very clear, like I'm not going to charge or anything. This would be, TFP will just be um, whether no one's paying anybody for their time. That's usually how I go about it. And then if models DM me and they, specifically mention it's a collab, then I go into it knowing that. But if they don't, then I usually, bring up my prices and then see kind of how things go from there. Sometimes I also do like half off sales for certain models that I've worked with in the past. So it's really case by case basis, if
Got
that
it.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is like your favorite photo shoot theme or vibes or type of photography to do?
I really like to do anything that cool wall. I know that sounds so basic, but like that's personally my favorite thing to do. If it's like graffiti, like you and I did some awesome shots with some graffiti. I
Yeah.
love graffiti, or I don't know if you've ever been to Eastern Market in Detroit, but there's all of those beautiful murals, and it's just a lot of brick. Um, that's personally my favorite thing to do, but also, I mean, I love doing like senior portraits and stuff like that because it is a big milestone in someone's life. And it's
Right.
kind of an honor to think like, wow, this person's going to look back at these pictures and know they're not really going to think about me, but like I took these pictures that this person and their family are going to have forever. And that's really, really cool. But I kind of got off topic and I forgot exactly what you were at. Oh no, my favorite thing to do. But yeah, basically I like to work with I like to I also like to work with models and try to think of creative concepts, whether it's just like a monochrome like look in like a specific type. Rent a studio and I bring my bubble machine and we like play around with that. I honestly like to do a little bit of everything to keep it interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of my favorite too. Like, this sounds so weird. Like, I don't know how it sounds, but I just hate like boring looks. Like,
Hmm.
I used to work for an agency and then I
Oh, okay.
got hired to do jewelry modeling, and it was
Oh
the
wow.
most boring photo
It does
shoot
sound a little boring, yeah,
I
but
have
that's
ever
interesting.
done. I literally just had to like basically hold still and then I don't know, pretend I like this jewelry, but it was very interesting.
Yeah, I've always thought that like paid gigs like that would be very interesting because from a perspective, it seems like you don't have as much creative direction, so you just kind of do what you're told. Same with a photographer,
Yeah.
I guess it really would depend on the job, but yeah.
Yeah. So that leads me into you are an independent, correct? Like independent contractor,
Hmm.
you do your own business.
Yes.
So why did you choose that route versus working for a company?
So personally, I got into photography during, well, it wasn't like during COVID because we're still during COVID, aren't we? It was like November of 2020. And it was more just because I picked it up out of something I really wanted to do for a very long time. And to be honest, a company was never really something that crossed my mind. I had just seen so many awesome people going out and just freelancing and doing so freaking amazing at it. Before I got into photography, I worked a couple photographers in the area. So, seeing them flourish was also something that really motivated me. Yeah.
Right. So, for any like inspiring photographers that are listening, if you could give them a couple tips on starting their own business as a photographer or just tricks or anything, like what are some top things that you wish you would have known?
Yeah, I think the top thing I wish I would have known because I've had like a DSLR, one of the bigger cameras, 8 or 9 years now, and I finally went through with messaging people to collab last year because I was so shy. I let that hold me back for an insane
Mm.
amount of time. And then I remember going to my first photo shoot with a model, like my first collab last November. I was so scared conversation to make, and maybe this isn't a big thing for a lot of people, but for me the biggest thing that I wish I knew like 5 years ago was that everyone is literally just another person. Like there's no reason to be afraid to talk to people. I joke that now like I'm a pro at making small people because it's I feel like I never have to like go on a date and like be nervous now because I'm so used to talking to good-looking people and just
Right.
making small talk, whether it's about, school or work or just getting to know them and making them feel more comfortable. It's not about, getting rid of awkward silence. It's just about making the experience better for everyone. But yeah, I was so shy and it has actually completely transformed me as a person in terms of shyness. So that's just but aside from that, I think no one should be afraid to ever reach out to other photographers for advice because some people I'm sure can be cold, but I have had some of the sweetest photographers that I looked up to a lot before I started who have offered me so much advice and I haven't even had to ask. And it's been really, really incredible. So I think as long as anyone just believes in themselves, they can truly do anything. And I sound so freaking cheesy saying that, but
No, but it makes me happy to hear that, you chose this pathway and not only was it a job for you and still is, but you stated like you've grown as a person and you've changed as a
Mm-hmm.
person for the better. And I think that's awesome because I feel like anyone, no matter what you do, if that job doesn't make you a better person individually, then quit, because we should
I
always be
agree.
looking for something that's going to evolve us and make us better and, make us achieve what we want.
I definitely agree. Yeah. I
So
feel
what
really
is
lucky in
like,
that.
yeah. So what is your like end goal as far as photography? Because I know you said you're a student and another job.
Mm.
What is your big end goal where you're like, that's where I want to get?
So I would love for photography to be my full-time job without, because I'm in school right now. I'm getting my master's degree in marriage and family therapy. So like the original route
Wow.
was to be a therapist. And so
Yeah.
I'm spending all this in school, so I might as well like, finish it and like get my license and everything. But I'm thinking of I'd like to do maybe be a therapist and do photography as well and kind of split my time. But my dream job would be to travel and to take pictures of people, whether it's like couples or models or be in like a new place all the time. And I think travel photography is very easy for like landscape photographers because you don't need people, but I think it's harder.
Right.
But I also don't want to be a wedding photographer because I've heard so many bridezilla stories and like how the
Oh
bride's
my
mom
God.
can be like the worst to deal with, and the bride's mom can like tell you everything to do, and so much pressure. That's someone's wedding day. So I
Right.
really like the less pressure filled stuff.
I hear you. I think it's funny because you said you're going for your master's in, what'd you say, marriage and family therapy?
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. And then I have my master's in social work. So it's kind of funny how we both have
Oh
these
wow,
schooling degrees, but then we're both also in the art industry of like
that's so
modeling as a
cool.
photographer. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's move on to some red flags. And I wanted to talk to you about this because as a model, I don't work for an agency right now either. So if I'm going to meet up with someone, like I have to be aware of photographer red flags, as I'm sure you have to be aware for model red flags.
Hmm.
So what does that look like as a photographer and like the red flags that you may get from models that you're like, I'm not sure if I want to do this shoot anymore or if this is a right fit?
So honestly, the only time that I've ever felt like I don't want to work more is when they have been rude or entitled. That's honestly like the one thing I can't really handle. I really don't. People are act entitled. Like if I'm doing a photo shoot for free, I don't think that I'm like, some god that's like, you need to bow down to me, but you also act entitled to being, like I had one person during the summer I was doing a lot of photo shoots in my backyard pool, and I had one person who wanted to come at a time that I literally wasn't going to be home, and then she wanted to like reschedule, and it was this whole thing, and then she like, well, I would expect, better from a published photographer. Like, you're not being very professional, like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm literally, I didn't say this, but to myself, like, I'm inviting you to my house to swim in my pool, and I'm going to take your pictures for free. And like, you're giving me attitude because our agreed to time isn't going to work anymore. Like,
Right.
yeah, that's just like the main, as a model, I would say, yeah, just never act entitled, because while we do love work you, and like I don't see it as I'm doing you a favor at all. Like that's not how I see it. But when someone acts entitled, I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. Almost makes sense. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, no, it does. And from like a model's perspective, first off, I just want to like let you know, like you made me feel so comfortable. Like I
Oh
didn't
yay.
feel like any red flags or like anything like that. So like I felt completely comfortable meeting up with you. And then my personal opinion, like during our shoot, like everything was very like it flowed well.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um I do have an experience where I've had a couple of red flags with photographers, and this was back when I was like 18, and this guy had reached out to me and he was like, "Do you do like nude photography?" And I was like, "No, like I don't. Like I do how do you pronounce it? Is it like boudoir or
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I was like, yeah, I'll do like boudoir or whatever, but like that's about it. And he was like, okay, well, I have like a yacht. It will be done on the yacht on like Lake Michigan. I was like, cool, good to go. And it was like a week before the shoot. And I said, hey, like, are we just gonna be on the boat on shore, or are we like going into Lake Michigan like boating? He's like, oh, we're boating. And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, I've never met you before or anything. So I'm kind of uncomfortable being in the middle of Lake Michigan by myself.
Yeah,
Do you care if I bring a
definitely.
friend? Right. So I was like, do you care if like I bring a friend with me or a support person? And he's like, no, I don't allow that. And I was like, okay, then I'm canceling my shoot, because the fact that you
Yeah.
won't let me bring a friend or bring someone to make me feel comfortable and you want to take me out in the middle of Lake Michigan, absolutely fucking not.
Yeah, exactly. That's so scary. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I've heard of some creep photographers kind of you don't want and it's sad, but it's like usually the men that, don't want you to, yeah, bring anyone with you. They really try to pressure you to take more clothes off than you want to type of thing and yeah,
Yeah, it's
not
not
good.
cute.
Not at all. Not at all. Heard like a few models say like, yeah, you're the first female photographer I've ever worked with and like I've had all these. I'm not saying all male photographers not, but I have had like models complain about some really creepy experiences that they've had. Yeah. So that's definitely something to just for. And I would definitely recommend models to even DM other models that this person's worked with. Like if on their page they have pictures of other girls, you can come and ask what their experience was like. I would always recommend that. And the same thing goes for photographers wanting to know about models for sure.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's funny that you said that the model said you were the first female. So you are actually the third female photographer I have connected with. But I've been modeling since I was 16, 17, 18. I'm 25. So out of that,
Oh,
all
wow.
those years, you're only my third one. So it is kind of interesting to
It's
think of it as
crazy.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tend to forget how popular the photographer market is for men because I feel like whenever I go to these like events when I meet other photographers, they're mostly women, but it makes like women are into the styled shoot events, you know. But but yeah, that's so interesting to hear about because when I like, other meetup events, it seems to be pretty like half and half. But at the same time, I
Okay.
guess it also just depends on the area and like who, you know.
Right. So also being like a individual, independent contractor as far as photography, do you have like a business name?
So I don't really. I have been trying to think of something for that, but that would also have a lot of like rebranding on like my username and all of that. So that's what I'm kind of like trying to make a decision about because I want to make business cards. I'm not
Right.
fully sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I I think that is like kind of the hardest part as far as even a podcast form,
Oh
because I
yeah.
had to make sure like my title wasn't taken by anybody else, and then I also have business cards that I have to pass out, or I have a own separate Instagram for just my podcast, and it's a lot of
Oh, okay,
like
yeah.
marketing and sourcing out people, which is
A
so
lot.
freaking hard.
It is. It totally is. I totally agree.
So I know on our photo shoot collaboration, I was like, hey, like, do you mind if I play some music? Because that just gets me in like a
Hmm.
better headspace or whatnot
Yeah.
to be able to shoot. Do you have any tips for models from a photographer standpoint as far as posing and movement and things like that?
So I definitely think music is so good to have. I've actually worked with a few photographers just like instinctively as soon as the shoot starts, they get out their phone and they start playing music. And each time I think, oh yeah, I should do that. And I remember thinking when you brought out your phone, oh yeah, I keep telling myself I need to do that, because I think some people might feel a little more awkward, not me personally, but I think that does help with just the like stiffness of, because I know
Mm-hmm.
personally when I get in front of the camera, I'm like, oh my God. And so I think like this stiffness, and it gives like a, like you said, like a whole vibe and it
Right,
helps.
right.
Yeah, for sure. The same way it helps a party by like giving it a vibe.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
It
And
totally
then I told
does.
you like I've learned from a photographer, and like I told you this, like, hey, if you need to remind me to breathe, like,
Oh
don't be
yeah.
afraid to say that. Because like you said, when you get in front of the camera as a model, sometimes you can become so stiff and forget like, hey, you can tell you're holding your breath. So why don't you release the breath and then we can capture the shot. Um
Yeah.
so anyone who's listening as a model, like focus on your breathing too, because that can be a game changer.
It really, really can be. Yeah. And something that, this is so random, but you just reminded me of this tip. If anyone's listening and they want to look, a little better in their pictures, something that a photographer told me when I first started taking or had some pictures taken of me, a lot of models will just part their lips instead of having, and you did this, but like instead of just having their mouth like completely closed. And like most models do this. And so now I actually notice when people aren't, because I think it seems more natural to just like have your mouth closed, but your
Right.
lips parted, it gives like such a, I don't know, a more natural look. That's just a very
Right.
random tidbit that I just remembered. So it like changed my life when I learned about it. So I thought I'd share.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then moving on to more of the behind the scenes, because obviously I'm not a photographer, but you are. So when you look at other photography, other people's work, do you sometimes get like upset at the industry as far as, maybe doing nude photo shoots that are clearly just garbage and for the photographer's pleasure, or photoshopping and things like that, like, because in a sense that kind of ruins not your business, but like it kind of floods the business, in where like there's so many bad photographers out here that are photoshopping or putting
Mm-hmm.
out terrible pictures, that it's hard for someone who's good like you to get noticed. Does
Thank
that make
you.
sense?
No, it does. I definitely know what you're saying. Yeah, I definitely have seen, and I think everyone has like the potential, to grow and everything. But yeah, like you said, I think there's definitely been accounts that I've seen where it seems like they just kind of want to get a girl in front of the camera and, have her wearing, as least amount as possible,
Right.
just for the sake of it. Yeah, exactly.
And then what about like photoshopping and stuff, as far as like, because I know, like, I told you, like, hey, I might have blue on my face. If there's any blue in the picture, can you please Photoshop that out? And like, I think that would be like a perfectly fine Photoshop, because technically there wasn't supposed to be blue on my face.
Oh
But
yeah.
as far as photoshopping, as in photographers like making this girl's butt bigger or waist
Oh yeah.
smaller and things like that, like, do you see that a lot on your end?
I personally don't really follow, at least that I know of, many accounts do that.
Okay.
Not that I personally have noticed, and I've honestly never had anybody ask me to make like their waist smaller or anything, but about, how I would respond to that. And I just firmly, personally believe in, even though it's very hard, just loving how you, regardless of photo edits. And I think, that's obviously a lot easier said than done. But I think in terms of like, yeah, the blue on your face, like for me, I send back to each person I work with so many pictures. So like if they want, a certain thing photoshopped on a certain picture, do that. For me, it's not a big deal at all. I think some people would like charge for it, but I mean, you obviously weren't gonna know that the blue from was on your face. Or,
I know I was.
sometimes people will be like, "Oh, I have like a nail missing. Can you Photoshop that?" And it's like, I mean, yeah, yes, why not? It's not that hard. But I
Right, and
mean,
it's
if you
not.
wanted something crazy, I don't know.
Right, and like the ethical basis, like, doing
Yeah.
something natural like that is, eye appealing, as far as, and you're not doing like per se anything like dramatically wrong to the person.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
so moving on, if someone wanted to hire you, or if I were to recommend to a model friend, like, hey, or, even someone who's like looking to get their pictures done and stuff, like, where can people find you as far as Instagram or Facebook, or the people listening, like, tell them how they can find your page.
Yeah, so my Instagram is alaina.k.jpg. So it's ALAINAK.jpg. And my website is also just alainakjpg.com, so it doesn't have the dot. And then my Facebook link, I don't know by heart. I think it's probably the same thing.
Okay.
I need
Okay.
to be better about marketing on Facebook. Is a great way to get clients. But yeah, and then that is the best way to contact me would just be through like an Instagram DM, or an email is on my website.
Awesome. And then if someone wanted to hire you, what are your prices and packages and what you offer and things like that?
Yeah, so I am right now, and probably for a while still, am running a $100 package, and that includes most likely, unless 100 or more photos, so literally $1 per photo, and they'll be edited, and it could be up to 2 hours at locations as you'd like, as many outfits as you'd like. I know some photographers charge more for extra locations or outfits. And then I would send every picture. So, like, if your eyes are open, basically, I'll send you your picture edited, and then you'll have all of those to choose from. Um, and yeah, so that's basically the only thing that I have right now is the $100 special for $100, or I'm sorry, 100 or more photos.
Awesome. And then in the description, I will go ahead and put all of your Instagram handle links. I will put the deal down there so people can click on the link and reach out to you if necessary, or not necessary, if wanted. And
Yeah,
then
thank
talking
you.
about this, yeah, no problem. Talking about this just brought another idea or comment I want to make. And this irritates
Yeah.
me. This is like my number one pet peeve. So when I upload pictures to Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, I think it is so important to give the photographer credit. So
Oh
tag them,
yeah.
right?
Oh
But
yeah.
I have noticed that even photographers that I have modeled for will use my picture and then not give me credit. And I feel like if we're
What the
doing,
heck?
yeah, if we're doing a service for one another, I gave something for you to, brand your business, and vice versa. You're helping me be a model. Like, we should be supporting one another.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm sorry that's happened.
Yeah, but I also noticed like so many models posting pictures, and I will be the first to comment, like, who took this picture? Because I think that is just
I
so
love that.
like rude of them. And
Yeah,
I
it
can't
it
stand
kind
it.
of is. Yeah, I can't stand it either. I'm not gonna lie. It is like kind of frustrating when like it's happened actually like twice. It doesn't actually really happen to me that often, but like
Oh,
twice in the
wow.
past week I've been scrolling and I'm like, that picture looks really familiar.
Like, that was me.
Yeah.
Like, I did that.
Yeah, and it's awkward because, like, I don't know, like, do I DM them and be like, "Hi?" It's like, do you stick up for yourself, or, like, are you being mean and rude? It's yeah,
Oh, no. I
I
would
go back
comment,
and
and
forth.
I would literally
Yeah,
comment on there and be like, pick credit, and then I would at myself.
that's
I'm
so
sorry,
smart. I
but
need to do
like,
that. No, I should do that. That's incredible.
yeah,
Yeah.
because if that means, like, if you're not going to do it and I find it, I'm going to go ahead and stick up for myself on your picture. And I don't think
Oh,
that's
heck
rude
yeah.
because that's your work. You know what I mean? And if someone wanted to hire
Yeah,
you, that's how you get noticed, is by people tagging you to get you clients.
true. Yeah, it's very important.
So, anyways, that was just my little heated tangent on tag your
No, yeah,
models, tag
that's
your
so
photographers.
horrible. Yeah. Very, very important.
Yes, like, we are all here to support each other, and you wouldn't have that picture or you wouldn't have that model if you didn't find them just randomly on the
Yeah,
street. You probably use the tag to find them. So,
exactly. Yeah.
but is there anything else that you kind of want people to know about a photographer's life, or where you're going as far as your business or tips and tricks for models or just really anything?
I would say a big tip for models, when you said that, it just made me think that I have worked with models who, like, our models are even signed with like different agencies and they are still very insecure. And it makes me so sad because it sounds so cheesy, but I truly think that we're all so beautiful in different ways. And you should never really work with a photographer that doesn't make you feel completely comfortable. It might be tempting to work with someone just because their rates are cheaper or because they're with you, but just keep your own interests, you know, above everything else and your own like self-respect.
Right, like you have your standard, and if someone
Yeah,
doesn't meet the standard, then move on to the next person because there's always going to be someone next in line.
exactly. Always.
I love that. Well,
Me
I
too.
appreciate you taking this time to collab with me on my platform. I know that when we met last, we were doing something for you, and like I really appreciate just being able to, like build relationships and build friendships through our
Yeah,
industry as a modeling and photographer, and just supporting me because I feel like it's important for all of us to be able to support each other's passions and things
exactly.
like
I
that.
totally agree. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how many people I've become like close with or really and truly feel like I have friendships with that are, people I just literally DM'd saying, "Hey, I see that you model. Wanna do a photo shoot?"
Right, right. So yeah, I really appreciate this, and I have actually never interviewed a photographer, so I was really looking to see if there was anything that, I don't know your side of the business, so I wanted to see if there's anything major that I should have been aware of, or like, wow, I didn't know that. So it gave me the opportunity to learn what that looks like on your end.
Yeah, I'm glad that I was able to help with that. It's always interesting to see both sides for sure.
It is. Well, even though I will not see you today, I'm sorry I couldn't fit in that photo shoot. I hope to see you again in the future
Yeah,
and
we
continue to
definitely
support
will.
you.
Yeah, right back
Awesome.
at you.
We will stay in touch, and podcasters, we will see you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Yeah, no problem. Have fun today at your shoots.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, bye.
Bye.